Let's do this.
You basically knowing my ideology, basically you knowing me knowing yours, you can support some of our programs. Is that what you're saying?
Why not?
And you believe in programs like the Breakfast with Children program and free health clinics? Right on, brothers?
We believe they're good things.
Uh-huh.
As a focal point to organize their mothers and fathers.
Uh-huh.
Peace.
Mm-hmm. There's no educational program here?
That's come out of the social action thing. You know, you set that up, bro. I mean, we can't put everything on one piece of paper.
What about this bank?
Credit union?
Mm-hmm.
Credit union. Credit union, my brother.
Is a
if
bank.
you're hip, are you hip to credit unions?
It is a bank.
Yeah, you go and borrow money?
Yeah.
It's a bank.
It's a bank. Owned by the people. Run for the people. And by the people.
What will money be given out to people for?
Well, the people would decide that.
You want to buy?
You know, whatever, you know, the people in the community decide.
You need some living room furniture, maybe? You need a car, maybe?
See, the thing is with me, you dig, I need to know some more about it. I wish you had some more literature about the educational thing here. Because, you dig, as far as we're concerned in the struggle, the way we look at struggle is that this depends on the educational thing, you dig. Because
this depends on the education.
Well, the whole thing.
No, but in the end, this does. You can form this with no education. You can form this.
No, not the way we're talking about forming it. You know, right. We're talking about forming it right. You know, it's not on the paper. We didn't write it on the
You
paper.
can form it right with no education.
No.
Let me give you an example. Yomo Kenyatta formed the excellent revolution with no education. And on the end thing, Yomo told the motherfucker, said, well, you know, you can educate, hate the enemy, but I'm your brother. I'll help you lead the revolution. Now I'm more pressure. Another example, Papa Doc in Haiti. Papa Doc in Haiti hated everything white. Man, you couldn't put this white paper in front of Papa Doc's face. But he moved all the white people out and he took over and be oppressor. He did, because of no education. And the people that had been educated, they'd have said that we don't hate the motherfucking white people, we hate the oppressor, whether he be white, black, brown, or yellow. So we got to know the educational program to find out what it's going to be in the finale. A lot of people, Yomo Kenyatta is called never a revolutionary, but an ex-revolutionary. So is Papa Doc. They brought on a successful revolution. That thing in the Mao's was a bitch. Bantu freedom fighters, all that kind of action. But what we're saying is that it's the end. That you don't judge Castro now. You can't do it. Nobody in this room could judge whether Castro's going to be a revolutionary or not. You know what I mean? We're talking about things, you know what I mean, with China, the People's Republic, and even at the stage they're in now, talking about even going on further into a communistic state. That's what we're talking about. Those are revolutionary. So we got to understand here the educational program that you have to be able to figure out whether it will go on the right lines where the people will end up in a situation where they can be able to really control themselves. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, the people take this local foundation and start stealing money because they won't be really educated to why it's the people's thing anyway. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa now, like you got in Haiti. So what we're talking about is there has to be an educational program. That's very important. As a matter of fact, it's so important for us that a person has to go through 6 weeks of our political education before he can consider himself a member of the party, able to even run down ideology for the party. Why? Because if they don't have an education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. You might get people caught up in the emotionalist movement. You understand me? You might get them caught up in because they're poor and they want something. And then if they're not educated, they want more. And before you know it, they'll be capitalists. And before you know it, we have Negro imperialists.
So I'm gonna take it back to this point for that's the case we need to go back through it. But I'm with them. What I like about this, like I said earlier, because it builds off of what we talked about last week, because we talked about mobilization and the organization and how important both of those are. But this goes into breaking down the structure of organization and the foundation of organizations and the things that would make an organization be long lasting. So it's principle, it's structure, it's values, it's education, it's all these things that would go into an organization, like the who, what, where, when, why, and how. It's not just chaos. It's not just, all right, we're against you, we don't want you to be our oppressor, we overthrow this, and now everybody, it's a mad scramble for power between the people who are left. And those are things that you want to avoid, especially because that's you mobilize people for a specific task, and now that task is done, there's no real structure, no real organization in place. The people who are supposed to be a part of the organization don't have a specific education, or they don't have the skill sets or the knowledge to truly structure this the way it's supposed to be, to create a foundation, to build it up from the ground up, and be able to have something tangible to pass on with ideologies in place, values, core, just different ways of living, culture, and all these things here, rather than just passing on chaos, because that's what he's talking about. Passing on chaos. To avoid, how do you avoid passing on chaos? How do you avoid implosion happening once the oppressor is gone? And then he gave examples of implosions that happen once the oppressors were gone. So those are things that I think are very, very, very important, and it builds off what we talked about last week.
Yeah, because when I think about because the key thing for me when I listen to this is, the emphasis on the importance of education and how poorly defined that term actually is in our modern discourse.
Yep.
Because a lot of the times when we start talking about education, we start talking about the conversation veers away from education and into inculcation or various philosophies or ideas that we think need to be spread. Those things in and of themselves are not education. Those things are the things that are transmitted through the educational process.
Right.
So I think one of the things that's important about what he's saying here is we need to have a process put in place in order to spread the information that we want spread to the people that we feel need to get it. And the people that come out of the other side of that educational process, if they don't feel the way we feel, if they don't think the way we think, then they can't be a part of what we're doing. The education is open to anybody that wants to receive it, but only a select few that go through it and come out of it the way that we want them to come out of it are going to be able to rock with us. And that is so important nowadays, where you get a bunch of people who barely even know each other, don't really know what each other's philosophies are, what each other's beliefs are, past backgrounds, experiences are, but they might say one or two things that makes them feel good, which is when he talked about that emotional piece. We might get led into an emotional movement, and now you're in this situation where people feel good, they start doing stuff, and then the true differences in their worldview show up.
Clash.
Everything starts to
clashing.
crumble.
Yep. So I don't know why I couldn't remember the name of the rebellion last week. I just pushed the video last week, but go back and look at my last Wednesday's video of the Bird Bites Rebellion, the Bird Bites Rebellion. And looking at the Bird Bites Rebellion, I talked about it last week. I reiterated it again because it goes perfectly what we're talking about. Yeah, two key figures. You had the political leader and the military leader. Because no real structure, no real code of conduct, no real solidarity, no real foundation that they built their revolution on. When the military leader and the political leader started to clash, and they clashed, the military leader wanted to become free by force. The political leader wanted to use the political process. The military leader was like, "Nah, we're gonna keep raiding these," because they were fighting they're fighting the Dutch, and they was like, "We're gonna keep raiding these people and keep raiding these people and keep raiding these people," and in that caused a split in the revolution. Half of them went with the military leader, half of them went with the political leader, and from there the rebellion crumbled, because they were a formidable opponent to the Europeans. They were actually able to hold them off for a while, for like a year, hold them off for a while. But when they started to clash, and they had the differences in ideologies, when people couldn't put their egos to the side, things started to fall apart. And that's one thing. But we talked about this in the past. These are things that Europeans have sat back and observed in our behavior. And they exploit those subtle differences and make those subtle differences grand differences. And now black folk don't like each other no more.
Well, and I think that's because one of the most important things about the educational process, right? And by that process, again, I'm referring to the teaching and receiving of knowledge. That process.
Yes.
One of the most critical parts of that process is that it it enables and creates the critical thinking component of those that engage in it. Now, you can set up an educational process that really dumbs down or nullifies or negates or um removes the critical thinking piece like we have in the public school system in a lot of places, not all of them, but in a lot of places. But you can also have a educational process that encourages and engages the critical thinking part. But that critical thinking part is only activated through proper education. Like, so that's one of the things where it's like we have got to, we, in the world we live in today, where we all feel like we're so pressed for time, a lot of times education becomes an afterthought because we don't think we have time to properly educate. And that is, I think, one of the shortcomings of the modern day movement is that there is a failure to educate because everybody's in a push to do something now, not understanding that educating is doing something now.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start talking about organizations, um, when we start talking about homeschooling, private schooling, charter schooling, education, Sunday schooling, all of these different things, going to church, orientations for your job, all of these various forms of education that even the most urgent of places and dealing with the most urgent of matters understand the importance of. But when it comes to organizing black people around liberating what we need to do, liberating ourselves or putting ourselves in a better position, we don't really seriously consider educating.
Right. So the spook that sat by the door. I think about that because I think that was, if you're a black person in America and you are serious about black people improving our situation, I believe that the spook that sat by the door is necessary for you to watch. And it's necessary for you to watch because it hits on all the points that you were just talking about. The teaching and receiving of information, and that information can be understood and used. So, in a synopsis of the movie, Freeman was the main character. Freeman was a black guy who became a part of the CIA. He became a part of the CIA. The overall plan was to gain education, gain knowledge, gain information, gain skill sets to be able to take back to his community, to be able to have his community take over their community and run their community. And he brought back information, structure, organization, all of those things to help mobilize people. But there was a structure to the mobilization. There was a structure to the organization, and that was broken. And he broke it down like, hey, if Freeman dies, the 17th person under Freeman knew how to run the organization. Everybody in the organization had specific skill sets. Everybody had a specific type of education. Everybody knew what to do if things went right, and everybody knew what to do if things went wrong. So that even if Freeman wasn't there, there would be no chaos because the organization could live on the way it was structured. Now, think about the way organizations, my eye itch, but think about the way organizations are created nowadays. If the leader of the organization is taken away, there is total and immediate chaos. We seen that. Let's just be real. We seen that on the street levels, when we can even talk about with some of the gangs and some of the street organizations and stuff. When they took like the OGs away, these young kids just out here, it was bad then. And it's still bad now because these young kids running around with no code of conduct, no street conduct, no coaching, anything like that. We can even see that in these so-called organizations that's supposed to be fighting for our community. When somebody is fired, somebody is arrested, somebody is taken away, somebody stepped down, anything, the organization goes into straight disarray. There is an issue because at the end of the day, with all this organization that we have, no real tangible progress is made because it's not built